Hello students, welcome to a new grammar lesson. Today we study present simple. When do we use it? Number 1, to talk about facts. Example: the sun rises at east. Another example: water boils at 100 degrees. Number 2, regular routine. For example, I always go to school by car. This happens all the time. This is regular action. It is repeated also. Another example: we have breakfast every day. This is also regular routine. When we read this sentence, we know that this action happens all the time and is repeated again and again and again. So facts, things that are true, they don't change. They are facts. They may not be happening now, but they happen all the time. The sun rises at east. All the time you find the sun at east. Water boils at 100 degrees. This is always true. When you take water and boil it, it will boil when it reaches 100 degrees. Regular routine, things that are repeated all the time. Things that are repeated all the time. They are not happening now, but they are always happening. Like, I always go to school by car. I am not at school now, but when I go to school, I go by car. We have breakfast every day. I am not having breakfast now. We are at lunch time, not at breakfast time, maybe, but I have the breakfast every day. Now, let's move to another part. With pronouns I, we, you, and they, use verb 1. Verb 1 means verb without s or es or ies or ed or ing. Verb without ending. For example, I play, we eat, they study, you drink. Look at these verbs that we used in these examples. The verb here, drink, it doesn't have s or es or ed or ied. The same with eat, the same with study, the same with play. So with I, we, you, and they, use verb 1 or the verb without endings. The verb without endings. Okay. How to make negative? Use this rule. I, we, you, they, plus don't, plus verb 1. this is how to make a negative sentence. A negative sentence. The negative is a sentence. It is not a question. Okay. Let's take this sentence and change them into negative. I play. Use don't. It will be I don't play. Now let's take number 2. We eat. Use don't to make negative. It will be we don't eat. Okay, let's move to sentence, another new part of our grammar lesson. Sentences with he, she, or it. Use verb plus s or es or ies. Let's take examples. I am going to take these sentences. I change the subject. I am going to take them now and change the subject. Okay. This is number 1. I play. I make it he, so I take the verb play and put s at the end. The rule says consonant. Let's start with vowel. Vowel letter plus y. Put s at the end. That's what happened. Here is the verb play, and this was y. Before y, vowel sound. Put s at the end. But consonant plus y, change y into ies. Let's take example about that. He study. Look, the verb study ends with y. Before y there is a consonant sound, so it should be he studied, and I change y into ies. Why this happened? Because I'm making a sentence in present simple, and the subject is y, and the subject is he, and the verb ends with y. One more time. If the verb ends with y, look at the letter before y. If it is vowel letter, keep y as it is and put s. That happens with he and she and it. If the verb ends with y, before y consonant letter, change y into ies. What happens if the verb ends with o? Like the verb go, and the subject is he. For example, he go to school. The verb ends with o. Add es. It will be he goes to school. I didn't put only s here, I put es. Okay. If the verb ends with s, also add es. That happens with he, she, and it. For example, the verb pass, it ends with s. For example, she pass the exams. It means she succeeds. It will be she pass, I put es here, passes the exams. What happened here? I add es to the end of the verb. Okay? One more spelling rule. If the verb ends with sh, the subject he or she or it, add es. Example, the verb wash. Sentence, he wash the car. It should be he washes the car. What happened here? The subject is he, singular subject. Third, singular subject. And the verb ends with sh. I add es to the end of the verb. Okay. One more grammar rule. If the verb ends with ch, for example, of course we add es here. For example, the verb watch, like watching TV. Example sentence, she watch TV. It must be she watches TV. And one more grammar rule, if the verb ends with x, like the verb relax. Add es. For example, he relax at weekends. It should be he relaxes at weekends. What happened here? I add es to the end of the verb. Okay, now let's study negative. Negative, use this rule. He, she, it plus doesn't plus verb 1 without s or es or ies. Let's take examples. Let's take these sentences and change them into negative. Use doesn't. He doesn't go to school. What happened here? I used doesn't, I used the subject he, I used doesn't to make negative. I used the verb 1, I cut es. Why? Because does cuts s. Does cuts s. And the same is true with doesn't. Doesn't cuts the final s. And if the final is es, so does and doesn't cut the final es. If the verb ends with IES, does and doesn't, it cuts the final IES and we change it back again into Y. Let's take another example. She passes the exams. Use doesn't. She, the subject, put doesn't after it, doesn't. Put the verb pass without ES. She doesn't pass the exams. Okay. Another example. He washes the dishes. Use doesn't. He doesn't, the subject he. I use the word doesn't to make negative. I put the verb wash and I cut the final ES. The car. He doesn't wash the car. Okay, so let's take the verb that ends with IES. Let's take this verb. And we want to make it negative. He, I put after he doesn't. Then I put the verb study with Y. Why this happened? Because the studies was study. We changed Y into IES because the verb ends with consonant plus Y. Thank you. That is going to be everything for today. Thank you for listening.